Hello, my name is Marina Gribanova. I am a lecturer for anti-drug educational program called Narconon. What am I going to tell you during the lecture? The title of my lecture is The Truth About Drugs. I will give you some new facts about drugs, what they can do to a person, and why an addict, a half-dead already, still continues to take drugs. Do you agree? Thank you for being here. Yes, I like giving lectures in small towns, because the children there are somewhat different from the children from big cities. Do you know that difference? They have a large range of entertainment and other opportunities available in big cities. I noticed how much fun you have. I warn you that there will be even more fun today. Please laugh quietly and quickly. I guess you have no problem with that. Am I right? Oh, great! It was a little workout. And that's it. Before the lecture, I always do some laugh exercises. Now I explain why. Despite the fact that you are good, decent, wonderful students sitting in this classroom, many of you may have a feeling sometimes that you come to school, you enter your classroom eager to study hard, and you start listening to the teacher, but in 5 minutes you feel like you want nothing. I'm telling you why this happens. For what reason does it happen to children? I try to explain it to school teachers when they really want to know. And students like you have to understand only one thing, a very interesting thing. As a rule, students in the classroom have no will to learn something new. Usually they are present here only physically. You come, you sit down, you make sure that you have not been given a class pass, and leave. The teacher hopes that a student is listening to him to study laws of physics. But only the body is sitting in the classroom, whereas the mind is somewhere out there, far away. As a rule, a student thinks of what he's going to do after school. Or maybe he had some kind of trouble, some problems. His head is always full of problems, and someone teaches him the laws of physics at this moment. What the physics, guys? We have something the most interesting after-school classes. And he's not here mentally. They tell him about the greatness of humanity, but he didn't even come. There's a simple exercise that is used, scientifically speaking, to increase intelligence. Now we're gonna do a foolish exercise that will increase your intelligence by 100%. Intelligence can increase for a short time only. It cannot be fixed at high level. Sorry, I'm not a wizard. Moreover, doing these exercises is a help for a drunk person to become sober in 15 minutes. But the person who initiates this exercise must be sober himself. But I doubt you can find that one at a party. I've checked it myself. It works, but you need to have perseverance. The meaning of the exercise consists of 3 actions. I ask you to do something. You do it quickly. I give you confirmation that I'm not so blind as not to see. Okay, good. It's simple. First, look at the ceiling. Thank you. Look at the floor. Great. Look at this picture. Wonderful. Look out the window. Well done. Wave to the driver of the car. Goodbye. Look at this video projector. Thanks. Look at the portrait of the president. Good. Gaze at the ceiling to find the faulty lights. Great. Look at the board. I will draw there. Great. Touch your head with your right hand. Good, excellent. Pull your left hand up. Thank you. Raise your right hand up. Thank you. Touch your knee with your hand. Don't mix it up. Once again, raise any hand up you like. And now, down. Great, it's just fine. It is difficult for a drunk person to exercise. I understand you may have a question, how to make him do it. No other way but to address to him to make sure he is alive. Wake him up. You should say, look at me. You should speak to him. Well done. Well done. Continue doing it despite all the swear vocabulary you will hear. You should not listen. Just continue doing this exercise. And you will save a person's life. I had once in my life. I saw a man on the ground, freezing in a snowdrift near the subway. I decided to check out if it works. I started doing this exercise with him. He opened his eyes, and he did the exercise with my help until he came to his senses. And he said, "What are you doing here? I'm going to kill you." And I rushed away. But I was sure that the man was okay. That is, he was no longer freezing in snowdrift. Now, don't be scared. I will ask you weird questions sometimes. It's a trick. Once again, I give the explanation for the curious. When a person's attention is distracted with some thoughts, he is not in the present. At this moment, he gets only a small part of the information, and the rest of the information passes by. The first question I want to ask you, but you'd better think first so as not to end up in a stupid position. The question is, who agrees with the statement that pleasure is bad? Wow! You are an amazing audience. In many other audiences, there are always clever boys who raise their hands and say, "It depends." Not a single person has done it in this classroom. Not a single person. Looks amazing. I guess it confirms that my exercise have raised your intelligence to the limit. When a student raises his hand to say it, depends on what kind of pleasure it is, I ask him a question. When you get pleasure, do you evaluate at this moment, what kind of pleasure is it, good or bad? Of course, there are people who get pleasure from what another would not get it. But why am I asking this question? I mean, it may seem a strange thought for some. Pleasure is actually the only reason why people go on living. Well, if you don't have any pleasure, it means you don't live. Do you agree? I'll give you an example, you know. There are people, they're called bums, beggars. Let's say we see a homeless man on the ground. It's cold in the street, -10°C, and he wakes up in the morning under a birch tree. Here's my question. Please tell me what he wants to do more than anything in the world when he wakes up. No, his desire won't be to drink vodka. Food, but he's cold and freezing right now. What he wants first, to keep himself warm and dry. That's right. And as soon as he is warm and dry, he will say, "God, what a buzz!" And now I have a question for you. Is there someone among you who wakes up in the morning and says, "God, what a buzz, I'm dry and warm"? For you, this is the norm of life. For you, it is not a special pleasure, but for him, this little part of his life is a pleasure. Now see, what will happen to him if he doesn't want to have this pleasure? Yes, he will die. Yes, maybe not today, but he will just die. That is, if a person no longer wants to get any pleasure, most likely he has already died, you know? Yes, that is, a pleasure is an engine to move us on. Now, another question. Tell me, please, will a person enjoy arsenic if he takes a couple of grams of it in the morning? It's a poison for mice. Of course, if it has been done on purpose, he would have get satisfaction. But he is dead now, and we don't know already if he had buzz. So there is a substance called poison. Can you imagine a situation your mother tells you in the morning? "Dear daughter, son, here I have a detergent instead of milk for you. Go drink it." Probably no one would do it. Nobody drinks poison at all. A normal person would not think of poisoning himself. Yes, I mean an ordinary person. We don't take into account people who want to die for their own special reasons. We take regular people who want to live and rejoice. I'll tell you. But first you need to determine what kind of word is poison. I'm sure you know something about it, but not much. So, a simple definition of the word poison is, poisons are substances that are not naturally contained in a human body. If they get inside, they harm the body. It harms because you have nothing like this inside you. Okay, now I have a question for you. Tell me, if some substance that is alien to your body and harmful gets inside, will the organism get rid of it? Yes, great! The body is getting rid of. It's fine. If someone doesn't get, I explain once more. Look, the poison gets here. And we have a very important ability called intelligence. And when you look at people sometimes, you can determine it easily. This one is clever enough. And this one is mindless. You can see it in the eyes. Yes, you may have no brain in your head, but our body still calculates what is useful and what is not. If a poison gets into your body, the mind thinks, "God, what a horror! This stuff was not in me before." reject it, and your mind, as a computer, calculates what efforts should be made to squeeze it out. If there is a lot of poison in the body, this is one story. If there is not so much, then the mind gives a command to the heart to beat faster, to work harder. Why? If there is a lot of poison in the body, this is one story. If there is not so much, then the mind gives a command to the heart to beat faster, to work harder, to make blood flow faster through the veins. And the body warms up. And the mind does everything to make the blood run faster. The mind gives an order to run, to jump, to wave your hands, dance, dance, sing a song. Well, it accelerates metabolic activity. As soon as the poison gets here, the command follows and the heart starts pumping up. The metabolism increases. I'll draw it. Look, a small amount of vodka gets into the body and the body becomes a little bit more active. The mind says, God, what should I do with this vodka? There was no such poison. And the command is given to the heart. Beat faster. Expel the poison from the body until it's not so dangerous. The body starts jumping, dancing, and singing. And then a new thought comes to your mind. One shot is good. 2 shots are better. Now follow the plot of our series. One more shot of vodka makes your mind weep. Again, it says, I tried to squeeze out the previous dose for 15 minutes, and he added more. Okay, let's speed up the team. The heart is pounding faster, more and more faster. The body jumps faster, more waving, more dancing. Just imagine what's going on in the body at this moment. And a person thinks, wow, 2 shots are good. Okay, and he takes another shot of vodka. And now, a small physics problem for you. Look, at first the temperature of a person's body was regular. Then it increased a little. He drank. It increased again. The mind understands the dynamics of temperature growth well. It's a flawless computer, better than any android. Yes, and the mind understands that if it goes on heating the body like this, a person will get quite soon a barbecue. You can't heat the body anymore. You see, if you go on with it, it will die. So it is necessary to slow down the metabolic processes. And the body is given the following order. Slow down. A drunk person looks like a slow motion video. The body slows down. Do you understand? We observe as the body is slowing down. But despite it, some people continue drinking more. My next question is, if the body continues to drink, what will happen to it? Exactly! It will fall down. Great! We have another option for our plot. It happens quite often when poisoning. Look! The poison got here, and it must be removed from the body, and the mind warns the body, take care. And the body runs quickly in the direction of a nice room, called toilet room. There is always a white ceramic object to be found behind the door. The mind says, bend down and communicate with this object. Communication succeeds. So here are the options for the body. Either it looks for the toilet and communicate with it, or falls down. Once again, you go to the water closet to meet a white brother for several times, and then you fall down anyway. Why the body must fall? Because the mind says, I did my best to accelerate this idiot. Frankly speaking, I slowed him down, but he continues to drink. If he does not stop, then one more shot will be the last one. A sad story. Especially for relatives. He wouldn't care anymore, but the relatives will. Therefore, at this moment, the body is commanded to lie down. The body falls down. Is that clear? Now, 2 more examples for you. Both funny. Everybody knows what coffee drink is? Now I'm telling a story I haven't seen with my own eyes in real life. After drinking a cup of coffee, a person becomes more cheerful. Right? Is there anybody in the classroom who had a lot of coffee and, for some unexpected reason, wanted to fall asleep? It's not about me. I had one story with coffee during my first year at the university. As you know, some negligent students learn their lessons the last night before the exam. Right? Just like me. It was midnight, and I didn't have enough time to study. And kind people advised me to drink coffee, much coffee. And since I didn't understand what much coffee means, I just drank so much that I had a boom inside me. After this incident, I don't drink coffee at all. Look, here we have doses of coffee. Let it be 1 cup of coffee, 10 cups, or something like that. And here's a bucket of coffee. If you drink a bucket of coffee, you die. It's clear your stomach won't be able to hold that much coffee. But I had a funny case at another school. I said stomach would not hold it. And one student said, then why not eat coffee? With a spoon? Well, is not a problem. I do not forbid anything to anyone, and I do not advise anyone. I allow everything. For God's sake, you may sit down. Eat coffee with spoons. 2 observers next to you to count minutes till you die. And, oh my God, you're a picture-in already in the Fame Hall. Now, let's have a look at arsenic. I mentioned this poison. Look, 0.2 grams of arsenic for you and you are dead. The point is, if you take a microdose of arsenic, just a milligram, the result will be similar to caffeine. Arsenic did me right. If you take a little bit more arsenic, see you in the toilet room. 200 milligrams is deadly dose. Understand! Good. This is a scheme of any toxic substance influence on human body. You eat something bad or drink or smoke or breath in. It means you poison yourself. High time to go to the toilet room. If you drink more poison, eat more poison, then you will die. It will be the last poisoning in your life. Okay. Well, I have a simple question for you. If all the poisons affect the body according to this scheme, then what about drugs and alcohol? What is it? Yes, just a poison. People drink and quite much. Now I need your answers and different opinions. Do it quickly, please. Okay? The question is, why does a person use drugs and alcohol? What for? A pleasant feeling. More versions. To forget troubles. More painkillers. Painkillers are a good answer. To try something new. Something I didn't have had yesterday. Great. Of boredom. A cool reason. From grief. Splendid reason. Super. To find a new friend. Very good. To make it easier to communicate. To get into adventure. Let's not say what it may be. Good. So, everything you have enlisted, and some students add more like to get to know each other, to dance better, to warm up, and so on and so forth. Raise your hands if you are not agree with this statement. People take drugs or alcohol for one single reason. They want to feel better right here, right now. Right? Yes, it's a fact. People don't take drugs just because they have an addiction. They may not know they have an addiction. They just want to get higher. Is there anything wrong with wanting to feel better? No. Is it bad when you want to be okay right here and right now and not when you retire? Oh, really? This is a normal human desire, here and now. Okay, now you understand, but there is a strange thing about it. That is, if you declare the formula, how it works, and use a correct definition for it, I wonder what your reaction will be. That is, it sounds like this. A person takes a drug and alcohol because he wants to get better immediately. What are drugs and alcohol? Yes, a poison. We know now. Now follow my logical chain. We want to feel better, and therefore we take poisons, and right away. And to make this statement more beautiful, like a billboard at the city square, it should go like this. To be happy, you need to poison yourself. Can you imagine me in the center of the city with a slogan, poison yourself? People are gonna call a doctor for me, I guess. You know, the clinic I'll be placed in. But what I say is true. When you really know what drugs and alcohol are, you look around and people seem crazy to you. You're laughing, well, you're having fun. Did you drink alcohol today? No. So isn't it just a chance to have fun? To giggle like this? And what about people who take drugs? Once I had a meeting with my friend in a cafe. He had coffee. I had tea.
We told funny stories to each other and nearly died of laughter.
We laughed non-stop. Suddenly, a guy came to us and asked, "What is it, you smoke?" That is, it seemed unreal for him. People can have fun without a drug. Tell me, please, is there anyone among you who has never been wrong? It looks like nobody, and you as well. People who are not mistaken are most likely to be far away already.
Yes, a normal person can make a mistake.
Tell me, is it a pleasure to make mistakes very often? Nobody likes it. I see sober children in this room. But in any audience, there's always one who says making a lot of mistakes is good. I ask, what's good about it? And he says, you learn from your mistakes. What a buzz! You're wrong! You're constantly wrong!
As for me, I don't feel good when I'm wrong.
Pretty nasty, right? After all, you can correct a mistake and not make it again. But if you happen to do it each 5 minutes, it's not a good life. Making mistakes all the time to become experienced seems funny. So, the most important thing I want to tell you today is a very interesting thing. I would like to do it like this. But nobody would believe it anyway. I'll tell you now what life is built of. Each of you has an individual emotional condition, you, and you, and it has a great influence on our success in life.
Because sometimes we act like fools. Sometimes we act okay and everything is fine. So there is a key to this, and we can master this key.
This is not karma for the whole life.
One is born with a silver spoon, and another is a loser. No, not at all.
I'll tell you why. There is such a thing called the emotional tone scale.
Is that scale clear to everyone?
Yes, like a ruler. The word emotion is also clear. Bad mood, good mood. Tone is a level of these emotions. Bad mood is here, good mood over here, and this small part is called buzz with your permission. I will dare to use such a word. Let this part be not just a buzz, but a buzz for free. A buzz is when you wake up in the morning, look out the window and say, "Wow, awesome!" And you jump for joy all day long. Just for free. If you know how to live so that you have a buzz for free all the time, then you start getting paid for it. And the more fun you have, the more you get paid. At the same time, you pay less. For various reasons. I will explain it later on.
Shocked! Me too!
So, that's a buzz we have here for free. The buzz that brings you money. Look, this is 0 on the scale. That is, there is no lower point. What is the most awful mood? What is it?
Let's name it.
Depression? No, we'll have it a bit later. More options.
Death. Wonderful. Death is down here.
A silent body. It's 0. Let's move higher. 0.05. I'll tell you about depression right now.
This tone is called apathy.
In translation, this word means a complete, absolute indifference to everything. That is, neither eat nor drink, no desire to talk, to walk, nothing at all. And we see a drooling from his mouth. What I imitate is a severe degree of apathy. I guess sometimes you walk around the city and come across people down on the ground. You want to offer help, but they cannot speak. They are in apathy. Both men and women look the same in apathy. Agree. They look different, of course, but they act the same. Hello, dude! This is the most vivid kind of apathy. There are various reasons for it.
Some terrible misfortune. We have enough of this in the country now. Yes, explosions, death of relatives, and so on.
A person will either get out of it or die. However, a person can live long enough in apathy condition.
Let's move higher. 0.5. We all happen to be in this tone. And you all have been there. Since childhood, literally, since birth. Very bad condition, you know.
I don't want anything.
This tone is called grief. I'll add some data. Look, a person gets into the tone of grief for one single reason. Many examples can be given. When a person has lost something important, each one has its own degree of grief, but it always has to do with loss.
When you have a loss, you have a tone of grief.
Now look, these tones can be instant or constant. Across the whole scale, instant tone is a reaction to some action.
For example, I hit you on the head with a stick.
Or you also take a stick and hit on my head. Or you get a hit and just say, "What's up?" Various reactions for various actions. This is the instant tone, for a short time. What is a chronic, a constant tone? It's a typical mood of the person, a dominant condition of the person. And constant tone makes up your life. Your chronic tone is the first thing. And there is the second one. How soon can you determine the tone of another person? Two things, your own tone and the tone of a man you deal with. If you feel okay and determine the tone of another person, then you always succeed in life. Now, for depressions. Depression is may the psychiatrists forgive me, though I don't like them. Depression doesn't exist. It was invented by psychiatrists. It's true. They invent 10 or 15 illnesses each year. It's easy to check it in medical guides. And they decide whether it is a disease or not by voting. The last two ones they voted for were called selfie and love. That is, if something is called a disease, then it is likely that it should be treated somehow. With what? With pills, of course. If a disease is found, wonderful people, pharmacists come up with a pill to cure you. And if you have a psychiatric illness, most likely, narcotic pills will be used. That's the way drug addiction is spreading through pharmacies with narcotic pills intended to cure invented diseases. And many people take pills not because they want to get new emotions. They are just depressed. In fact, depression is a chronic low tone between grief and apathy. Our grandmas and grandpas treated depression very easily, and our parents too. When you're in a bad mood for a long time, you can't handle it yourself. People around you can be a help. But really, as soon as your mood drops, what do you need to do? For girls, the treatment is very clear. You take a rag, go wash the floor. For boys, you go dig a pond with shovel in the garden. That's it. When you work physically, you get rid of depression. That's the way to cope with depression. They give us a pill. You take it once and twice. What are you going to do next? Always to buy pills in a bad mood. Does it differ from drug addiction? No, that's exactly the same. But we call it a disease and treat it. In general, juggling mental illnesses is a very dangerous thing. Now we go on. By the way, tell me, can you determine a person who has a chronic tone of grief after talking to him for a couple of minutes? Yes. Clever students, people usually say no. And you are so young. You know, the tone of a person can be expressed with the position of his body, the volume and speed of speech, facial expressions, gestures, and what he speaks about. What do you think? A man in a tone of grief. Is he mobile? Usually his face is like this. Like Donkey Eeyore by the pond, all over in snot and tears, missing his tail. A great loss. So, a man looks like this. His face is relevant too. And if you come to this person and say, "How are you?" without any giggling, with sincere intonation, "How are you?" Well, you will be told everything, and after 15 minutes you will think, "My God, why did I come to him?" You will be told how bad it is for him, how bad it is in the family, in the city, in the country, in the world. You give him a question, if it's possible to fix it somehow. No. Then, as usual, a talk about his health follows. Everything hurts him and cannot be treated. The medicine is overexpensive. And something like that. If you ask that person whether it's possible to do something about it, the answer will be negative. A person in a grief tone is most likely to be sure there's no way out. It's only going to get worse, you know. This is my personal discovery. I think so. I haven't tested it on lots of people, but I think it's close to the truth. Go asking the person of grief about who's to blame for the problems, and you will discover that the lower the personal tone, the more abstract is the one to blame. Usually grief people blame this one, no matter who is the president now. Honestly, no matter who. Even the last Russian emperor. Who is to blame? President Poroshenko. Before him, there were Yushchenko, Yanukovych, Timoshenko. Go on asking. Listen, if Poroshenko is cancelled, will your liver stop hurting? And you will see an epiphany in his eyes. In fact, a person should fix the problems himself, but he cannot do it himself. He says that it will be worse. And believe me, he will be worse. It's him who says so. I will be worse. And he does his best to make it worse. And the other one says, it will be better, and he makes it for better. No mystics. The problem didn't fly from space to him. Bad to think, bad to do. Because Poroshenko's to blame. Let's move higher for 1 unit. And by the way, there are gender differences in the tone of grief. If a boy has a grief, better no one. Notice! The reactions differ. The next tone is typical for people who are not a crybaby. Not motionless, but sometimes they run and sometimes they freeze. This is called fear. Let me give you an example of this. Wink at me. This phenomenon exists in other schools, of course not in yours. Some students have a drawback called skipping. So it's not you. Well now. The example I give is about a boy who skipped, let's say, the whole day. Let him be the student of the 8th grade. And he is absent all day long. Maybe more? No? So tell me, will you be punished for skipping a school day? Sure, great, right? Discipline also stops the madness in children. Well, he decided to skip the whole day. So tell me, what's gonna be the next day when he enters the school? Will he go to the principal to confess the guilt? No, he wants to see no principals. No. He comes to school quietly, opens the door. No head teachers ever stand at the entrance. The pass is free to reach the classroom so no one will notice. He pulls the door. There are the principal, the head teacher, the class teacher, and all the teachers of all the lessons he skipped, and even the parents who came to look him straight in the eye. And they ask him a normal question. Where have you been, you little scoundrel? Why did you skip the whole day yesterday? If the boy doesn't faint in apathy or start crying in grief, it means he may be in the tone of fear with some definite features of behavior. Where have you been? Well, in general, I came to school yesterday. I pulled the handle. But the door was not open, so I thought the school was under repair. Don't laugh. It's true. I'm not a liar. Does he avoid to look into the teacher's eyes at this moment? A person in fear, as a rule, has only one desire in situations like this. Like a cat who saw a dog, to run away. But he's not a cat. He can't run away. He needs to answer something to the principal. But his eyes start to look for safe place. Why? Because the head teachers are a danger, and the wall on the left is not. Where have you? He looks to the left, and he starts to speak again. At least he can mumble, and as you may know, this person tells lie. Tell me, have you ever been deceived? And you knew it was a lie, did you? Would it be cool if you lie and never be caught in act? A person in grief tells a lie 24 hours a day, but he doesn't realize that. The person says that everything is bad, it will get worse, we're all gonna die. Tell me, do you believe that it will get worse and worse? No, for we believe we can improve something. However, a person in grief is sure everything will be worse. Bad girls, wrong boys. Everything is bad, everyone is sick. This is his truth. It is impossible to convince him otherwise. He tells a lie. In grief tone, a man is an unconscious liar. In fear tone, a deliberate liar who is aware of this. Such people cannot create beautiful lie. They just lie when they get scared. A scared person starts behaving like this. Nervous motions. His eyes shift. He can't look people in the eye for a long time. Secondly, he's like fussing. It's obvious. It's always visible. A change in behavior. That's it. If someone communicates with me in this way or avoids communicating with me, I understand that I am a kind of a danger for that person. Therefore, he is lying and wants to run away from me to avoid direct communication. That is, if I have a person in front of me in a tone of fear, I understand that anything he says is most likely not true. I'm not accusing him of lying, of course. I just make a note in my head to check the information I was told. And it's a relief for me. I wasn't deceived, right? The next tone on the scale is my adorable. Not because it's good, but because it's bright. I adore it. It's a tone of people who think they are bright. The tone is called latent or covert hostility. A very interesting tone. 2 words, covert and hostility. Open hostility is almost the same. We range it at 1.9. It's not even indicated on the scale. Open hostility is easy to describe. You say what you want. You say what you think. And what you think is basically bad. That is, the principal, the head teacher, the homeroom teacher. All these people are questioning the student, where have you been? And the student in open hostility tone answers, it's none of your business. Tell me, is it wise of him to say such things to the principal, the head teacher, and to hope that there will be no consequences? Not at all. But he doesn't care about troubles. He is fed up. You see... Now tell me, which is more honest, covert hostility or open hostility? I don't claim it's a good way of behavior. We just make a comparison. Is open hostility more honest? Now imagine I have a student who is very hostile to me each time we talk. What his chances are? I mean, his emotional tone. Will he go up the scale or go down? Most likely he will go down, right? To the covert hostility. A man in covert hostility. What are his thoughts? Let's get back to the student who enters the school and faces the principal, the head teacher, all the teachers who want to know, where have you been? Little scoundrel. This time he is not in fear, but in covert hostility. You ugly freaks. I'll show you now. And he starts doing quite the same things in the tone of covert hostility. Where have you been? Me? Well, I came to school yesterday, pulled the door, but it was not open. Yes, for sure. I was eager to go to school, but I couldn't get in. The door was locked. I know not how the others entered. It was not clear. That's why I decided to call the authorities to make you feel better. If the principal believes that the authorities are already coming to check the school, then the student will shine with pleasure. Look, a man in grief gets pleasure when everyone around feels pity for him and cry. A person in fear gets pleasure when he manages to run away. The person in covert hostility gets pleasure when he had bad, and nobody knows it was him. The only pleasure! Now an option for girls. Let's say we have 2 girls. I'll play the first one, and someone of you will be the second. Let it be you, for example, and the first one, who looks like this. With a covert hostility. Comes to you, her classmate she violently hates, and starts talking to you like this. Wow! A cool jacket you have on. Second hand, yeah? No more than $1, I guess. So pity, your size wasn't there. You see, yeah? She seems to be saying nice things to you, and she has a smile. But you look foolish. In fact, you were told nothing offensive. It just looks like a prattle-tattle with a smile. And sometimes you can't even understand, what was it? That is, someone talked to you, and after that, you feel bad. You can't understand why you feel uncomfortable. It's because you had a talk with a person with covert hostility. Now the very same situation 10 years later, or 20 years later, let's say at a class reunion party, and the two girls meet again. Oh my God! Long time no see, and the years take their toll. And it's getting so good at heart. That is, a person says nitty-gritty things, a small inconspicuous nastiness, and all she says comes from the bottom of her heart. Oh, you see, this jacket is a little bit out of your size. You're too plump in it. I wish you only good. Oh, you nasty crocodile. Now, girls, listen. The only piece of advice I give at my lectures is intended for girls only. Boys will figure it out for themselves. But there's a peculiarity. Well, now, if you happen to get in contact with someone who... There are 3 options for you. Do you know you have to be polite? Yes, I do confirm. You need to be polite, even to hostile people. But you only think you are polite. In fact, you are somewhere down on the tone scale. There's a wonderful tone there called cajoling. They bully you, but you pretend it's all right. And people think you're polite. You stand there, stomping your heels, and you don't know what to do. At this moment, you look so polite, one wants to spit in your face. It's between grief and fear. So, here are 3 options for you to deal with people who have a serpent's tongue. Option number 1. The first thing is to study the person with a glance, and then say to yourself, but for God's sake, not out loud. So, you watch at that arsehole and sigh, oh gosh, a covert hostility, how unlucky she is. Not out loud. Inner voice. Do it in mind and you'll feel better. The second option, you can just say, I understand you and go away. This is the simplest option. You will be upset, but not much. Or you can play a fool under condition that you really can play it. Oh, sister, you are so good at jokes. Comedy TV is waiting for you. And she will think you are her kind. There is one more way, the proper one, but we can't always follow it, because we don't really like to do such things. But one has to learn how to do it, not to be knocked off someday. Now that's how you can do it. She approaches you. And you depart after saying proper words. Enriching your vocabulary is very easy. Ask the boys. Practice your new vocabulary in front of the mirror until you scare yourself. Parents shouldn't see that, for they won't understand what you do. Always be ready to meet a kind of an arsehole who comes to a clever girl like you to make your day. So, use the magic words. You say a spell, and she won't come to you anymore. And her girlfriends will avoid coming up to you too. You say, thank God she's gone. And if everyone knows how to manage it, then these hostile people will start thinking, maybe we are doing wrong, you know. People who enjoy harming other people should be stopped. No politeness to them. You must say, stop, otherwise you'll be imprisoned. Now look, why did I mention a prison? Because the tone of covert hostility is the tone of any criminal. A criminal is always in covert hostility. There's no other tone for it. Now, an option for boys. They also display different reactions. Let's say we have 2 boys in this class. The first one hates the second one, a bastard and a very big bastard. He is afraid to confront, but boys never display fear. They never cry, and there is no other way. Therefore, he needs to move a bit higher on the tone scale. A person's face is a good display he has reached a covert hostility tone. He takes a seat at the back desk. He takes a pen. I'll teach you bad. He takes a pen to pieces and starts chewing a piece of paper or something else he had in his mouth. What else could it be? A snot? A plastic bullet? We used modeling clay in the 20th century. Oh, somebody said a chewing gun? Did you know that? Wow, cool of you. Good version, but I think it's too much. Now, I continue the story. Let it be a paper. Chewing gum is an atrocity. So he makes a paper bullet and takes a shot from the back desk to the front desk at his enemy's head. Yes, you know, it's easy to shoot with a chewing gum. But if you succeeded with paper balls, this means are a sniper now. Boys play football. Girls watch as they do it. Now, I'll try to define what happiness is. Happiness is overcoming barriers on the way to the goal. It's not just about achieving a goal, it's also about overcoming obstacles. As soon as you have overcome, you feel happy. So a boy scores a goal. He shouts and rejoices. It's obvious. He doesn't think of science at this moment. Hooray! He doesn't hide behind the gate rod. No, he is just happy. Good. Why is he happy? Because he had an aim, and he achieved it. Now we get back to the guy who took a shot with a paper ball. Had he a target? Yes. Did he hit it? Yes. From here to there. Unreal. A super sniper. What is a normal reaction of the winner? But in our case, we don't see such a reaction. We see a completely different thing. He shots, hits, and then rejoices like this. Why? Because it's a covert hostility. You see, he cannot understand. Okay, I'll ask you later on. Well, you see a hidden shot at his enemy's head. This was a goal. He reached it, and he wasn't caught in the act. He's the winner. A typical covert hostility. This was a tone for criminals. Now what's above? 1.5. I'm fed up with you. The lecture lasts for an hour already, and you go on talking. Shame on you. Have some respect. Are you normal? I watched them all the time. They're part of my lecture. I kept it in my mind. Oh, goodness. What a wonderful audience. Only 3 don't listen. I wish they wouldn't shut up. Thanks. The next tone is called anger. I had to show it somehow. I needed someone to scold. Okay, it's anger. Frankly speaking, you 3 really disorder. So, a person in anger stops something. Anger is a tone of orders. Sit down, shut up, lie down, don't move. Don't bother, freeze. That is... Now let's have a look at such a human activity. A wonderful, a beautiful activity as war. Can we determine its tone? Look, what are the troops going to do in fear? To run, right? And if the soldiers are angry, the army is coming. And if the army is up there in a buzz, it moves from one trench to another and asks for a cup of tea. Here, at the top of the scale. But you can fight in anger tone only. Anger without any doubt makes you fearless. You don't care at all. You have a grenade in your teeth and you stop any armor. But you must have a strong intent. All of that can be done in the anger tone. You see, burn. I'm gonna ruin the whole world. Yes. If you have fear, you fail. Now you see the difference between the tones. Anger is the best tone to stop someone, to slow down something. There are even professions that suggest a tone of anger. The basic purpose of these professions is to stop someone or something bad. Oh, a good purpose. Think twice. I mean, activities when you have to fight evil 24 hours a day. All right, let it be a garden prison. Traffic police. That's right. What else? The whole police. The cops must stop the crime, right? All the police should work in anger tone. Now, imagine we have a corruption in the police. Corruption always shifts the police down the scale, and now there is no difference between cops and criminals. Persons in covert hostility are the same. Who is cat? Who is a mouse now? The system sucks. The next tone, 2.0, is called antagonism. Not alcoholism, not onanism, but antagonism. I-N-T-A-A-G-O-N-I-S-M. It's always no. It's an irreconcilable contradiction. Let's go for a walk. No, it's cold outside. Wait for summer. Let's watch TV. Are you silly? Nobody likes TV now. Daughter, help Mom with the dishes. Oh, Mom, I would, but when? I have 8 classes tomorrow and a lot of homework. Dad never helps. He does nothing all the day. Let him wash. Why me? Especially cool when you have a brother or a sister. Why me again? Oh, is it you who usually say it? And you always wash the dishes, do you? I can't believe. Usually the elders are tortured with dishwashing. Your older brother, 2 brothers, little scoundrels they are. Okay, antagonism. Why me? And it's useless to argue. Now, pay attention to the fact that a person can move across the tone scale instantly, because it's life. Someone hits you, you have to react. We can't just freeze. We hit back or we cry. There's no good when a person is stuck in one of these tones. Imagine a person in a chronic antagonism. Let's move. No, we stop. It's unbearable. An instant tone is better. Let's jump off the skyscraper. And you say, ah, ha. Up the scale we go. 2.5. You may know this tone very well. This tone is typical for calm people. I'll try to imitate. Okay, up the scale we go. 2.5. You may know this tone very well. This tone is typical for calm people. I'll try to imitate. Right you are. An indifferent egoist. You say to him, let's watch TV. He says, yes, we can. But who's gonna push the button? An indifferent egoist is a good definition, but it doesn't fit well here. We'd better use a synonym boredom. Boredom is right in the middle. All tones below boredom are closer to what? This lower part of the scale is called non-survival. Up, you survive. Down, you die. If you are below boredom, the death is close. If above, you move to life. And vice versa. This scale was invented and improved in 1954, not by me. I wasn't born yet. It was an American philosopher, Ron Hubbard. His scale has much to do with wave theory. He used some equipment to verify this tone scale. Do you have physics classes? I have a terrible thing to tell, but it's true. These tones are a wavelength, you see. There are radio waves, there are other waves, there are other waves. We all have a basic wave. Sometimes you look at a person and you feel at once his vibe. We don't even have to talk to feel it. So what is it we feel? We feel the wavelength. Teachers of physics say the wavelength is a distance between 2 crests of a wave. A wave can be like this, or like this, or like this. You see, and higher on the scale, the more smooth the wave of a person is. But down here, the wave is peaky. Is that clear? Good. So this part of the scale is a non-survival. Now, more examples for you. I guess 3 examples. Do we have children under 14 here? Then I hope I'll not kill you with the word. Though, I can tell nothing. I have 3 examples for non-survival tones. One is about health, the second about intelligence, and the third about sex. Usually they choose health, and after that, I usually say the lecture will continue with a story about sex with a sick moron. Now, I give you a brief story about these items. Let's start with health. Attention, please. The cameraman will not faint, for he filmed me many a time. And you, Mom, hold on to the door jams. Many of you may feel bad right now. No, guys, I didn't say roll joints. I said Dr. Jams. And so each tone resonates. I better put it this way. The lower the tone of a person. Watch my hand. The lower his illness is. Got it right. Once more. The lower illness is located. You understand. Fine. I can make a list of typical illnesses. It's a recognized fact. The utmost coincidence. If someone has chronic tone of antagonism, I don't mean the one who didn't jump off the skyscraper for fun. I mean someone who is constantly saying, no, 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 no. So, if someone has a chronic tone of antagonism, then he is prone to chronic diseases of the upper respiratory tract. Runny nose and cough. It's a sign of antagonism. The tone below. Below we have a person in the chronic tone of anger, eager to kill everyone on his way. Such persons are prone. It's not absolutely true, but such persons are prone to stomach diseases. Stomach is below respiratory tract. Now for hostility. We should look for it below the stomach. Usually students say kidneys. Yes, that's it. Oh, I have an idea. Let's call kidney everything below a stomach, thanks. Students always mention kidneys, and when I say kidneys after that, everyone understands the issue. Good. The bottom items on our scale correspond to leg diseases, arthritis, and so on. The lowest point is death. It's clear. The lower the tone, the longer illnesses last, the more chronic diseases a person has, the lower they are located. Note this fact. If you want to become a doctor, is there anyone who wants to become a doctor? No one. Oh, you! What do you want to practice? Haven't decided yet. I'll help you. This is an ear, nose and throat doctor. These are the ones that gastroenterologists are. A bit lower. We have hemorrhoids there. And all that stuff. Venerologists and all that stuff. Venerologists and all that stuff. There are also gynecologists. Obstetricians who deliver babies, but they are an exception. To give life is a very useful and positive activity. By the way, not long ago, I told students about the tone scale, and I said, look, this is the area of chronic diseases. No, not like that. These ones are the tones of chronic diseases. People have to see a doctor. I gave the same lecture a month ago, and a girl in the classroom exclaimed, why don't you include 0? There's also a doctor for it, a pathologist. You see, people in these tones are all doctors' patients. Now you have some notion about diseases and why people get sick. Go on now. The next topic needs no telling, no showing. I'll do nothing but ask questions. The topic is about sex. Look at the scale. Imagine sex and apathy. Good of you. Good imagination. And don't forget about slobber. The next question for you. What is the tone of a person who has strange ideas about sex and wants to kick you hard to subdue? What is his tone? It's anger. No, he's not an abuser, not a bad man. I forgot to say a very important thing today. The most important thing. Now silence, please. A terrifically important information for you. Actually, there's not a single person on planet Earth who was born a stupid scum. All people, absolutely all, even those who are in prison, are goody inside. They're all good. People are good from birth. They're just in a different tone, that's all. When you see a person that looks so, please, don't say it's a bad person. Why am I compassionate? Because a man is in a bad tone. Deep inside, he is good. If you have a strong will to find that good in him, you are welcome. But the lower on the scale, the harder it is to penetrate his soul. If you can't, you better give it up. Understand? People are good. Now look, sex in a tone of anger is violence. He wasn't born like that, but he's in a tone of anger, and therefore he will be prone to violence. Sex in a tone of covert hostility. How does it look? A bag over her head is of course very close to covert hostility. I would say yes. Some other options? There is a lot of this in real life. You can see it in cinema every day. Sex in covert hostility includes infidelity, gangbang, I don't know, a kind of sexual perversion. The movies are full of it. We can also add prostitution, special shops for sexually excited people. Do you have special shops in your city? No? I am not saying that it's scary to come in there. I just explain that the shops, are demanded by those who cannot make sex with a human, a living being. Why people can't? Because sex is a communication of a high level. Down here, it's something obscure. A covert hostility deprives a person of communication ability. I forgot to say an important thing about diseases. From this point and down, it's difficult without Viagra. It doesn't depend on age. It depends on the tone. Girls say, ha ha. And now imagine you are a boy, and since childhood together with your parents, you watch ads on TV, and every day, you are shown an ad about 50% of men over 40, 100 times a day. 50%. Men over 40. What will come to mind of a normal, healthy man? Either to stop living when 40, or to rush to do everything until 40. You see, a person has no chance to escape that curse. I have one more question. Let it be my contribution to the fight against corruption. I don't know how Ukrainian authorities fight corruption, but they allocate money for that. It means somebody gets money to fight corruption. I think one should explain to corrupt people the consequences of the corruption for themselves. Have you heard that nothing can be done in our country without bribes? Yes. Can you define the tone that fits a person? For example, who takes bribes? Fine! A covert hostility. It's a crime. A person takes bribes covert, as if he did nothing. A person who gives bribes is even lower on the scale. He is here between fear and grief, in cajoling condition. Maybe they won't beat me. What do we see now? Half of the country is in covert hostility. The other half is between fear and grief. What hurts the country? Everything below the waist. Voila! Kidneys! And people wonder, where did it come from? From here. You cheat on your wife. You spend money for nothing. You steal. You give bribes. You take bribes. Fine. I bet that person will live to be 40 and have potency. Good health from nature will help you to end up by 50. We are doing ourselves bad. By our own will, we harm our body. Our health is what we create. By the way, in order to degrade people or to keep them in covert hostility, stag films are produced. Addiction to this kind of video kills you potency. They are produced on purpose. Sex in antagonism. Do you want? I do. I don't. That is, sex in boredom. Just imagine. Can I eat an apple at this moment? Not to waste time. Just like in a movie. He is smoking a cigarette at this moment, and she is telling the news of the day. I got the feeling that these were two robots, worked out and parted. They call it love in cinema. In fact, up the scale sex is possible up to 80 years old. Everything is fine and feelings will be fine. But down here, people believe they should train the organ. It's a bull. Moreover, they say men are prone to cheat. Women are not. It's a mare's nest, too. They want us to think so. To some unclear reason, psychologists have compared men to animals, and I don't like it when people are compared to animals. I don't like it. We are told, men are bastards and dirty, lustful dogs. You see, and a dog is an animal. It's a dog. For example, it has no goal to earn a lot of money or to draw a picture of another dog. It has one goal in life, to conceive more dogs. I have not seen a single man who is born with a goal of making as many kids as possible, with no other thoughts in his mind. I haven't. Comparing men with animals is humiliating to my mind. I cannot treat people like that. Is it clear? And some extra information you don't really need. And so, you will be shocked in a moment. Attention! In the tone of boredom, a person has 30% of natural intelligence. I can put it another way. You are 70% idiots. Everyone in boredom has a 30% intellect. Forget about 70%. Good. We have antagonism below. Antagonism corresponds to a 20% intelligence. When people say you fool, not me, it's you. No you, it means both have 20% only. Anger. Next, in anger, people have 15% of intelligence. In anger, let's do a little scene. Let me choose someone to help me. Now you are eating an apple. L asks you for an apple. L asks you for an apple. You refuse. Give it to me. No, it's mine. Then I take a bat and hit you on the head. The result is, she has a hole in her head. I have an apple, and one more later on in prison. I got an apple. Yeah, that's a 15% intelligence. Nothing clever about it. Now look! Covert hostility. These people think they are the smartest people on the planet. They fooled everyone. Only 10% intelligence. Not more. 10%. Therefore, intelligence, health, your success, happiness, achievement of goals depend on your emotional tone. Doing nothing will bring you down the scale. Is that clear? Good. To move up the scale, to change the tone, you need to do just a simple thing. You need to set some goal, like this girl who wants to be a doctor, and move towards it. If you got a little closer to the goal, praise yourself. I did well. I did something good today. Not much is left on our scale. Upper tones are not so numerous. Yes, the tones to enjoy life. 3.0. The tone of conservatism presupposes no changes at all. Good afternoon, children. Sit up straight. Today I will tell you how harmful it is to take drugs. Smiling is not appropriate. The topic is serious. People are dying. Yes, I can stay in this condition no longer. I should say that this tone is not bad. Look, almost 50% of intelligence. 49, to be exact. The point is, you will be successful when you have more than 50%. More than half means you are more right. Less than half means you are more wrong. 49 over here. A conservative person does not change anything. Tell me, is it possible to imagine life with no changes at all? Life changes every moment. New devices are invented, some new technologies. Something else, more and more every year. A person who rejects changes will retard and shift down the scale for sure. But a conservative person, at least, does not want anything bad. He wants to keep the good. So he benefits society, but very carefully. You may have seen them. You come and say, "We have a cool idea to give a lecture on drugs for the whole city." And he says, "No, I need to see your license first." It's not about you. I think you are not a bureaucrat. And then he asks for permission number 1, number 2, from the Minister of Health, from the Minister of Health, from the Minister of whatever? And you have a paper from somewhere more? Enough of me. Goodbye. There are many other cities in Ukraine. I guess, you get. A person in the conservative tone can simply stop something good just because it is new. Now 3.3. The tone is called a strong interest. 70% of intelligence. 70. You are already a winner. Tell me, please. Is it possible that you have a lesson? By the way, how many lessons do you have? 8. Now, you are having the 8th lesson. Attention. Something's incredible gonna happen. The bell is going to ring in 3 seconds. And you say what? The lesson is over. Miss Johnson, let's continue. No, not this way. Then you are counting down like this. 3, 2, 1, the bell, and you run somewhere very quickly. Now I explain. I wanted to reveal a secret to your teacher, but she's gone. Are you a teacher? No. What a pity. It's okay then. Let's ask someone. Oh, we have parents in the class. Do you know where your kids run? What's the interest? They run home to do their homework. With joy. Some can start doing homework, but actually they go to the net. Now, 7 p.m. Your mom comes home. You are still hanging out or playing games. Oh, son, you look so pale. Have a dinner. Mom, wait. And you can't stop. Besides computer games and social nets, do any of you read books? Oh, goodness, then you know for sure. An interesting book is impossible to break away from. Of course, I can tell you how to make sure that you do your lessons on time. Is it true? Yeah? You don't have more classes today, do you? Then keep your ears open. You must make up your mind. You must make a decision. Let's say you have a bad mark in mathematics, AD, or an E, or an E. And you look at it and think, am I really a fool? Can I prove I'm not? At least to myself? Of course, you may have another motivation. Okay, I want to prove I'm not a fool. You come home and open a math textbook for the first time in 5 years. What is it? Well, you can even cry. You are sitting and crying. What a terror! Now, we set a goal. Let it look like the sun. I'm drawing a goal, no matter what it's called. You are terrified, but you shift up from grief to fear. Then you start watching at numbers, but it's a failure too. Oh my God, I understand nothing. Then you start reading conditions of a mathematical problem. Who was that idiot who invented math? Congratulations, and are in covert hostility. You go on reading conditions and you shout in anger. The goal still guides you. No, I'll break through. And you shift higher. I'll manage and you start grumble. The goal still shines. And you make one more step, right up to boredom. Where is it? In this tone, you may say, well, whatever. But the goal is still here. And finally, you gain conservatism. What? If I try to solve a mathematical problem like we did at school, you take a copybook and the problem turns out similar to what you saw yesterday. You say, oh, that's how it works. And what if I apply this one to that one? And you turn out to be in strong interest. And finally, you succeed with the solution of the problem, and you immediately shift to a higher level. But I didn't name it yet. So in strong interest, you cannot stop learning something. It evokes you, it makes you feel good, and so on. Now, a trick question to examine you. Tell me, please. We have a boy in the classroom sitting at the back desk. I say a boy because, well, they are ahead of the whole planet, so we have a boy at the back desk who is drawing on the desk with a permanent marker. In what emotional tone, to your opinion, is he creating that wonderful piece of art? Okay, we have 2 answers, covert hostility and boredom. Students mention the strong interest as well. Even teachers give me that answer. For those who said boredom, don't be upset, you are mistaken. I have a question. Tell me, will that boy raise his hand at the end of the lesson and ask the teacher to evaluate the masterpiece? Look, you should always distinguish between covert hostility and strong interest. A person who spies you through the keyhole is not in strong interest. The one who really is just knocks on the door. Moreover, a man in a strong interest is not interested in watching through a keyhole like that idiot in covert hostility. Funny as that, he doesn't enjoy it. They have different interests, and they will never understand each other. Therefore, in order for another person to understand you, you need to play half a tone higher than his tone. and then he will hear you. Okay, we go higher. 3.5. It's easy. It's the tone of fun. Should I explain something? Wait a minute. There's a nuance. Girls' attention, please. Imagine your girlfriend is walking on heels such high in the snow, and then you watch her slip and fall. Looks very funny. Is it the tone of fun or not? Right, it's not. Let's go higher. 4.0. This tone is called enthusiasm. Insanely interesting word. E-A-N-T-H-I-S-M. I will tell you its origin. Enthusiasm, what is it? It's a feeling you have when you are winning, or you have won, when you understand that there are no obstacles for you. Everything is fine. It's enthusiasm. The word itself, as any other word, consists of a prefix, a root, and the like, you know. Here we have the prefix n, and the root jus. It's an ancient Greek word, but we can find it in many modern languages. The root jus is a modified Greek word theos, that means God. The whole word enthusiasm can be translated as something from the God. When you feel enthusiasm, you are God's. It's simple as that. Up there, people can achieve anything they want to. So, you ought to push yourself up all the time. Just walk over to the mirror. If you're not in complete grief, if you're still sane, you just need to take a look at yourself and smile. Several times, just for fun. Do you remember about the shovel? About washing the floor in the classroom? You see a girl crying in the classroom. Oh, my dear, I understand your grief. I know what would help you. Let's wash the floor together. And you see, as after washing the floor, the person gets happy. Everything is clear with the scale. Now you know about life more than your parents. Now look, I have a really difficult question for you. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Girls, a really difficult question. Silence. Let's have a brainstorm. The question is, can we identify emotional tones that provoke people to think about drugs? Well, we already have variety, from apathy to real interest. Grief? Enthusiasm. You have named all of them. Let me tell you, starting from the top. An example about football again. I give it because sport competitions and games are very clear to me. Imagine the following situation. Here is the gate. Here I am, running up, ready to make a strike from a short distance. The ball is right here, and the goalkeeper suddenly departs. I'm about to score a goal for sure. I'm ready to kick, but suddenly I think I'd better go start taking drugs. Please tell me, why a person with absolute intelligence, with positive emotions and joyful pastime, should come to conclusion he needs taking drugs? No way, it never comes to his mind. He already has a buzz. Why should he pay for what he already has? The fun tone. You have a party with friends, laughing, joking. Your belly hurts from laughing. Is it the best moment for you to start thinking of taking drugs? No. Okay, you are watching a detective movie. You are in the tone of strong interest, or you are reading a detective story. As for me, I like detective novels about Mr. Fandorin by Boris Yakunin. You turn the page and read. Fandorin approaches in silence. He pulls the door handle, and behind the door there was. And at this very moment you exclaim, why not to start taking drugs? It's unreal. It's impossible in the tone of strong interest. Let's take conservatism. A person who changes nothing in his life and obeys the rules, will he start? No. Once again, this person does not change anything. He never wanted to take drugs, and he continues to ignore it. A person wants no changes, wants no drugs. No, he won't take it. So, boredom. Nothing to do. Maybe yes, maybe not. I said 30% of intelligence, remember? Antagonism. He can take drugs out of spite. Only 20% of intelligence. Anger next. Yes, he can. Covert hostility. Why not? Everybody takes drugs, so I do too. Only 10% of intelligence. Fear, grief, apathy. In these tones, a person accepts anything to feel better, drugs as well, because he's already a zombie. Let's say we have a boy Misha in the classroom in a tone of boredom. A thriller about Misha and Boris. The boy named Misha is sitting in the class watching flies on the window. He can't wait to see Boris after classes, for some interest. A person in boredom can initiate nothing. He waits until someone else entertains him. Misha has an incoming call. Hi, this is Boris. I have something cool, only for you. Ocean of buzz. Don't tell anyone. If someone asks me to go somewhere secretly, Elle would think, what should I hide? Keep your eyes on. Misha comes to Boris, and Boris offers him a drug easy to use, easy to buy. And it's not at all a drug, people say. What could it be? Coffee. Oh my gosh, so you don't know the name of the drugs at all. Thanks, dear. He said marijuana not because he smokes, but because he's brave. Let's take cannabis for an example, okay? A beginner can try spice, but never a poppy because there's practically no one who would start injecting. It hurts. As a rule, a beginner is given something to swallow or to smoke. I don't speak of spice and pills because my story is not about a dying junkie with a rotting body. Let it be a long story. Therefore, we chose cannabis, which is told not to be a drug. And besides, it's better than vodka. I was told that cannabis improved vision, memory, and so on. Just a magic medicine, they say. Boris says to Misha that he has a joint. You smoke, you buzz, Misha says in response. Are you a fool? I was told it was dangerous. A question. In what tone is the boy Misha? And in what tone is the boy Boris? Look, the boy Misha is in the tone of boredom. The boy Boris, who offers and sells drugs, is in the tone of covert hostility. There's no other tone for him. He is here on the scale. He's a criminal. What is he to do to make Misha take the drug voluntarily? He needs to degrade this person in tone, either here or below. How does he do it? At a wave of his hand. Oh, come on! What's up with you? Come on, dude. Why not? Come on! He starts pressuring. He says that everyone has already tried. Finally, he makes Misha feel very uncomfortable, and Misha agrees. Okay, I'm gonna try it once. He smokes the joint, and what is his new tone after that? Higher or lower? He will not slide down. Come on, people. My lecture is called The Truth About Drugs. Not the horrors about drugs. Horror stories will follow. The boy Misha reaches the top of the scale enthusiasm. Why? Because a small amount of poison made his body jump and dance. Right at the top, but it's a false enthusiasm. Let's go to the club. Whatever. Tell me, will he stay in this tone for the rest of his life? The drug stops working. Where is the boy Misha on the scale now? Good of you. Back to his constant tone. That's the worst part. Because if he had felt bad and vomited for 3 days after a jump to enthusiasm, he would have said, no way. But the boy, Misha, successfully gets back in boredom, and soon he has an idea. Why not to try once more? We remember that he has 30% of intelligence. He will say to himself soon that it was good for him. It's a wonder potion. I need it once more. And he comes to Boris. Give me more. Boris answers. Pay in cash. As for me, I like detective novels about Mr. Fandorin by Boris Yakunin. You turn the page and read. Fandorin approaches in silence. He pulls the door handle, and behind the door there was. And at this very moment you exclaim, why not to start taking drugs? It's unreal. It's impossible in the tone of strong interest. Let's take conservatism. A person who changes nothing in his life and obeys the rules, will he start? No. Once again. This person does not change anything. He never wanted to take drugs, and he continues to ignore it. A person wants no changes, wants no drugs. No, he won't take it. So, boredom. Nothing to do. Maybe yes, maybe not. I said 30% of intelligence, remember? Antagonism. He can take drugs out of spite, only 20% of intelligence. Anger next. Yes, he can. Covert hostility. Why not? Everybody takes drugs, so I do too. Only 10% of intelligence. Fear, grief, apathy. In these tones, a person accepts anything to feel better, drugs as well, because he's already a zombie. Let's say we have a boy Misha in the classroom in a tone of boredom. A thriller about Misha and Boris. The boy named Misha is sitting in the class watching flies on the window. He can't wait to see Boris after classes, for some interest. A person in boredom can initiate nothing. He waits until someone else entertains him. Misha has an incoming call. Hi, this is Boris. I have something cool, only for you. Ocean of buzz. Don't tell anyone. If someone asks to me to go somewhere secretly, Elle would think, what should I hide? Keep your eyes on. Misha comes to Boris, and Boris offers him a drug easy to use, easy to buy. And it's not at all a drug, people say. What could it be? Coffee. Oh my gosh, so you don't know the name of the drugs at all. Thanks, dear. He said marijuana not because he smokes, but because he's brave. Let's take cannabis for an example, okay? A beginner can try spice, but never a poppy because there is practically no one who would start injecting. It hurts. As a rule, a beginner is given something to swallow or to smoke. I don't speak of spice and pills because my story is not about a dying junkie with a rotting body. Let it be a long story. Therefore, we chose cannabis, which is told not to be a drug. And besides, it's better than vodka. I was told that cannabis improved vision, memory, and so on. Just a magic medicine, they say. Boris says to Misha that he has a joint. "You smoke, you buzz," Misha says in response. "Are you a fool? I was told it was dangerous." A question. In what tone is the boy Misha? And in what tone is the boy Boris? Look, the boy Misha is in the tone of boredom. The boy Boris, who offers and sells drugs, is in the tone of covert hostility. There's no other tone for him. He is here on the scale. He's a criminal. What is he to do to make Misha take the drug voluntarily? He needs to degrade this person in tone, either here or below. How does he do it? At a wave of his hand. Oh, come on! What's up with you? Come on, dude. Why not? Come on. He starts pressuring. He says that everyone has already tried. Finally, he makes Misha feel very uncomfortable. And Misha agrees. Okay, I'm gonna try it once. He smokes the joint, and what is his new tone after that? Higher or lower? He will not slide down. Come on, people. My lecture is called The Truth About Drugs. Not the horrors about drugs. Horror stories will follow. The boy Misha reaches the top of the scale enthusiasm. Why? Because a small amount of poison made his body jump and dance. Right at the top, but it's a false enthusiasm. Let's go to the club. Whatever. Tell me, will he stay in this tone for the rest of his life? The drug stops working. Where is the boy Misha on the scale now? Good of you. Back to his constant tone. That's the worst part. Because if he had felt bad and vomited for 3 days after a jump to enthusiasm, he would have said, "No way." But the boy, Misha, successfully gets back in boredom, and soon he has an idea. Why not to try once more? We remember that he has 30% of intelligence. He will say to himself soon that it was good for him. It's a wonder potion. I need it once more. And he comes to Boris. Give me more. Boris answers. Pay in cash. Misha is ready to buy each month. He can afford it. It's inexpensive. He smokes again to rise to enthusiasm. I have a Harry Potter wand now. Look what he thinks. It's not expensive. Once a month. I can afford it. The real meaning of this phrase is, once a month I can afford to be happy for money. It sucks. As for me, I can afford to be happy anytime for free. And I'm even paid for free. I promise to tell you about it. Do I enjoy what I'm doing? Or am I kidding? You see, I have a job that brings me joy. I get paid for it. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, Misha achieved the top, but later on, if Misha is lucky with health, he will be in this tone. A simple question. After you have rolled a joint, would you come to your mom with good news? Mom, I started taking drugs. Will he conceal? Yes. Will he lie? Yes. What is his tone? A covert hostility and fear. Does he hide it from other people? Anyone who hides something from parents or other people is in the tone of fear. He used to live in boredom. He could do anything, and now he takes drugs. His emotional tone is unstable. He falls into a low tone, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He becomes nervous, for why do they stare at me? And his mother asks him, Misha, did you do your homework? No? Misha, take out the garbage. No, I'm going to do my homework. Misha, do you have a problem? Mom, it's you who has a problem. He argues with his mother, with his girlfriend, with his teachers. Everyone annoys him. He comes to the boy Boris and says, they are all despicable. Boris says, don't worry, be happy. They roll one more joint, but this time Misha can't reach the top. He is one tone down. Now he looks at a piece of chalk and laughs like a moron. It's called to have a giggle fit. Tell me, please, does he understand this tone is higher and this one is lower? It's called a different rush. He doesn't understand the difference at all. He thinks it's a new effect. He continues to do it for money, and his personal tone falls down here. This is a false tone, and this is a personal tone. His tone is anger. Not a simple anger when somebody hits you. It's a peculiar anger. You go to school and tell your friends. Can you believe I got home at 3 a.m. like a stand-up guy and Mom said late? A crazy woman. I can't get no sleep. She said, go to bed. I'm not at home. Now they want me to have a copybook at the lesson. Have you ever seen guys with a copybook in the lesson? Have you ever seen guys with a copybook in senior classes? Crazy teachers. Do you remember about his sexual abilities? What a nice young fellow he is. I'm kidding. You see, the world got worse for him, but in fact, nothing around him changed. People remained the same. It's him who became different, and everything around him became worse and more dangerous. Where is his savior? He comes to Boris, smokes again, and this time he can gain the strong interest only. Now a piece of chalk is not a fun for him. He stares intently in size. He is studying the molecular structure. I was told different stories. One drew a circle in a copybook for 3 hours in one place. Another one boiled water to take a bath. He filled all the pots and pans with boiled water in the house. Any meaningless activity is suitable. You look at this man and say, oh God, he is sick in the head. And he looks at you and says too, what the hell? It's you who is a fool for him. I hope you get what I mean. Look, he holds on here for some time, but then he falls even lower. There is no other way. Now he is in covert hostility. Can we assume that after taking drugs for some time, he would do it more and more often? Of course, he is not a fool now to take the useful stuff once a month. Of course, marijuana is useful, for Misha has only 10% of intelligence now. He considers drugs to be the most useful thing, therefore it is necessary to take them more often. So, he smokes in covert hostility. After a period of time, I don't know, after a year, or 2, or 3, or 4 years approximately, a cannabis smoker faces degradation, a very slow, inconspicuous degradation. And one day after smoking a joint, he gets into conservatism. What's wrong with it? Why no buzz anymore? Maybe a bad stuff? I do not know what explanation he will come up with, but the fact is, he smokes 6 joints a day, and it's 180 times more than he intended to take at his first day. Listen, are you a drug addict? Are you mad? Can you kick the habit? I can, so do it. Hey, I don't want yet. Do you know what a person with a strong will to quit looks like? He sees his feet and says, damn, they are rotten. And at this moment comes an epiphany. Maybe it's time to quit? Hurry up, or you'll end up in a cemetery. In this tone, a man always says he can quit any moment, but he never does because he's an addict already, though he may not know. It's been 4 years at most. There are drug addicts everywhere around him. No other people. You're only as good as the company you keep. Will his friends offer him something different? Do you know what kind of people get hard stuff, cocaine and heroin? Who are they? They are all who already took some drugs before. The drug system does it well. And the dealer says to you, come on dude, weed is just a toy for kids in the middle classes. Real dudes get real stuff. And he shows the price list. Cool guys, cool drugs. The brain is no longer able to evaluate the information. Look, he is really stupid already. 10% of intelligence. And of course, he says, there is nothing bad about taking a new stuff. People just don't get it. I will try some new. So he starts shooting up. He's in fear. A new drug gets him high again. But if the previous story lasted for 4 years, this time, the buzz lasts for 2 weeks only. In 2 weeks, he appears to be in boredom. What a blast! But at a different price. Now I tell you the story of a teenage girl. She shared it with me. I wake up in the morning. No more dose left, and to some unclear reasons, I'm getting snotty. I have diuresins. I'm getting snotty. I have diarrhea. Vomit, tears, body temperature rises to 40 degrees Celsius. I can't walk, I can't sit. Can you name what happened to her? It was a withdrawal syndrome. She said, I thought I must run upstairs and climb up the roof to find something that takes my life. I had voices in my head. Of course, there was no one on the roof. The day goes on. She still has withdrawals. What would a person do to avoid a withdrawal syndrome? She'd do anything to get drugs. Drugs are a girl's best friend. They make friendship in this tone. She is ready to do anything to buy a new dose. And now, here's what she said about the buzz. I make an injection, and nothing hurts me. I can go pee to the toilet, not in my pants. She had to shoot up each 4 hours to take away the pain and get some sleep. Then one more injection 4 hours later, and maybe you will be able to eat. That's all. It took just 2 weeks. It takes 4 years to reach 0 on this scale. 97% of the addicts shift down here. And now look, an addict needs up to $100 a day to get a dose. What's the way to make this money? I guess it's no secret for you how they make money. They all steal, they sell drugs, and girls are often forced into prostitution. You can find them at pit stops on the road. Boys would be glad to join girls, but they are no longer able. Girls don't want, but they are able. Boys want, but they are not able. 3 or 4 years later, a person dies. To die young does not mean to die handsome. In what condition do they die? It's a whole story, but I'm not gonna tell it. Today, I modified my lecture because we have students here, not the addicts. The scale I represented today is a little bit extended. New data is added. Today, I told you how a person starts taking drugs, but there are 3 more topics. What is hallucination? I swear, nobody knows. The second one is what is dependence to drugs, and why do drugs always stay in the human body? Practically no one knows why. And the third topic is what happens to the addict's body. It's very interesting as well. All that can be found in YouTube if you look for Marina Gribanova videos. You can find this lecture on my personal site as well. It's upgraded a bit. Only 25 pages to read. Millions of views. If you find it, you will get comprehensive answers to many questions we didn't answer today. I have a kind of asking. There's still so much I have to say to you. The matter is, each of you is probably sure that you are grown up and nobody can lecture you. Are you? Why do they tell what to do? I do what I want to do. I agree. You can do whatever you want. But you should understand that your personal tone depends on your behavior. Being in a high tone helps you lead people, even your parents. When you are always right, no one can scold or punish you. Sometimes you can disobey and break the rules, but you should always move in the right direction. You have to set a good goal for yourself. Over here, you are always a consequence of others. If everyone is bad around you, you are just a consequence of them. That's why you can take drugs if you want. Because it's your life. Want your body rotten? You are welcome. Go use drugs. Wanna be an idiot? For God's sake, you are enlisted. Or you come to your mom and say, Mom, I have a dream to become an impotent. Fine, we go looking for drugs. No problem. It's your life. You have the right to rule your life. Over here, you can do it wisely. Down here, you just suck. Not a single man in the world can ruin your life. You ruin it yourself. It's only your responsibility. The word responsibility doesn't mean you were jailed. The word responsibility means you can guide your life. If you have no responsibility, life leads you. We have wrong definition of responsibility. It's me who guides. That's what responsibility is. And it's me who is responsible for that. I'm ready to be responsible. I hope it's clear. That's all. Thanks for your attention. You are a splendid audience. I wish you to live without drugs.